Welcome to The Dance of Energies. I am Angel, your voice for this podcast, created using 11 Labs. Here to introduce Deep Dive, your host, created using Notebook LM, and Felix de Voxcor, the mind and channel behind these ideas. Felix, as his artistic name suggests, speaks from his heart. He created this podcast because he believes the world needs it. In a time where relationships often feel transactional, love seems disposable, and commitment wavers, Felix felt a powerful urge to offer a different perspective, a path towards authentic connection and inner balance. He's harnessed the power of AI to amplify this message, crafting the editing, visuals, and videos you'll experience. This isn't just about technology, it's about using every tool at our disposal to spark a vital conversation. Today, we embark on our journey with the very first episode of The Dance of Energies, The Path to Inner Balance, and Real Interconnectedness. We'll begin by exploring how we can move beyond rigid societal expectations and embrace a more fluid understanding of strength. Let's dive in. Disclosure. The voices you are hearing are AI generated using 11 Labs and Notebook LM. Now enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a fascinating topic today, integrated energies.
Ooh, interesting.
We've got this really thought-provoking article and even a practical exercise all about moving past, that either kind of thinking.
Yeah.
And embracing a more holistic way of being, both personally and for, society as a whole.
I like it.
Have you ever felt like you're stuck between two extremes?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Like having to choose between being assertive or kind, or maybe prioritizing work over family, or,
Or like being creative versus being practical.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't be both.
Right. And it's exhausting.
It is. And that's kind of what this article is getting at, right? It's saying that rigid binary thinking, that either or mindset, it's an outdated survival instinct.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's like leftover from, when we were worried about like saber-toothed tigers and stuff.
Makes sense.
But now it just leads to burnout and all sorts of problems, not just for us personally, but even, for society at large.
Yeah, it's like it creates this division.
Totally.
Okay, so how do we break free from that? The article talks about Cleopatra.
Yeah, Cleopatra.
It says that historically, societies that defied these rigid categories, they actually tended to thrive.
Right.
But what is it about Cleopatra that makes her such a good example of this?
Well, think about it. She was powerful, yeah, but she was also like this brilliant strategist and diplomat.
Oh, right.
And she was known for her charisma and empathy. She was really like this blend of qualities that went beyond the typical gender roles or even like expectations for leadership.
So she wasn't just choosing one side or the other.
Exactly.
She was like integrating all these different aspects.
Yeah, and it's reflected in, how she navigated all those complex political situations and built alliances.
That's fascinating.
And this idea that strength lies in integrating, diverse qualities. It's not just about Cleopatra.
Right.
Historically, societies that were like more open to different perspectives and talents, they often had a real advantage.
So what's stopping us from doing that today? I mean, why are we so stuck in these binaries?
Well, the article points out this interesting paradox with modern feminism. While it's made huge progress on equality, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So some of its expressions, it's like they've kind of adopted that same hyper-competitive framework.
Oh, so pushing against the old rules, but still ending up...
Yeah, replicating some of the problems in a new way.
Yeah.
It's created this pressure, especially for women, to equate empowerment with like this relentless productivity, often at the expense of, caregiving or community.
Right.
And that can lead to burnout.
Makes sense.
And ultimately kind of undermines that interconnectedness that it was supposed to be strengthening.
So how do we get past that? How do we achieve like true empowerment without sacrificing those essential connections?
That's where this idea of integration really comes in, right? Both the article and the exercise, they emphasize that true empowerment, it's not about like fitting into some predefined model of success. It's about valuing individual strength and collective well-being.
I like that.
Right? Like both,
Yeah.
not one or the other.
Do you think there are any like real world examples of how how this can actually work in practice?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The article mentions Patagonia. They offer like on-site childcare and flexible work schedules. And it's like they get it, you know? Caregiving isn't just a women's issue, it's a human one.
It is.
And they're actively trying to like integrate those needs for ambition and communal support.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about something else. The article brings up this this idea that we've kind of eroded our intuition.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're so reliant on like external hierarchies and systems. Have you ever like had that feeling where you doubt your own gut instincts?
All the time.
Because you're so focused on what like some external system or expert is telling you should be doing.
Totally.
It's like we've lost trust in ourselves.
And the article, it suggests that this disconnect, it's actually contributing to, you know, things like rising mental health challenges, increased polarization, and even like environmental neglect.
It's like we've traded our inner compass for a set of external rules. And now we're lost.
Yeah, we're following the GPS. It's taking us in the wrong direction.
Totally.
But what's fascinating is that the article also talks about this this resurgence of interest in ancient wisdom traditions.
Oh, interesting.
Things like mindfulness, indigenous ecological practices, all that. It's like these traditions that were often pushed aside during, you know, periods of domination and control of this person. They're now resurfacing and offering potential solutions.
Like we're remembering what we forgot.
Yeah, it's not just about rejecting the old systems. It's about like rediscovering what was valuable in the past and weaving it into our modern understanding.
So how do we actually do that? How do we like integrate these ancient insights with our modern lives?
Well, the article proposes this framework called the Trifold Path Forward.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the trifold path?
It's all about harmonizing three key dimensions: the physical, the emotional, and the energetic.
Sounds pretty comprehensive.
It is, and we'll dive into each of those dimensions in more detail after a quick break.
Okay, so the trifold path, the physical, emotional, and energetic dimensions. Let's break them down.
Yeah, let's do it.
What's the physical dimension all about?
So it's about honoring our bodies, right? Like really paying attention to what they need, but it's not about like reducing our whole identity to, you know, physical form or achievement like some people do.
Right.
It's more about creating like workplaces that are ergonomically designed, making sure people have access to, you know, quality health care.
Yeah, those practical things.
Exactly.
So that's the physical. What about the emotional dimension?
This is where it gets you know, a little more nuanced.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that vulnerability is actually a strength.
Interesting.
Yeah, and creating spaces where people feel safe to like express their full range of emotions.
I like that.
You know, imagine workplaces where emotional intelligence is valued, where men feel comfortable talking about their feelings.
That would be a huge shift.
It would.
Okay, so we've got the physical, taking care of our bodies, the emotional, creating safe spaces for vulnerability. What's the energetic dimension all about? This is where it gets a little woo-woo, right?
Yeah, this is where it gets a bit more abstract, but the article argues that our inner energy, it's the connective thread of all life, you know? It's the source of our consciousness, our creativity, our connection to everything around us.
So things like mindfulness, meditation, those kinds of practices.
Exactly. Those can help nurture this energy.
So if we can like harmonize all three of these dimensions, we're basically creating a blueprint for a more balanced, more harmonious society.
That's the idea.
That's exciting.
It is. The article, it paints this picture of a future where strength is defined by, you know, mindfulness and compassion, where economies prioritize sustainability,
right,
and where education, it values emotional intelligence.
I love that vision.
Yeah, it's a good one, right?
It is. But how do we actually get there from here? Where do we even begin?
Well, both sources, they emphasize that it starts with recognizing and challenging those binary traps that keep us, you know, stuck in those outdated ways of thinking.
Right, like we were talking about earlier, getting out of those either-or situations.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the practical exercise, right? Transcend the either-or mindset.
That's the one.
Okay, let's dive into that.
All right, so the first step is all about identifying those binary struggles, those recurring patterns that keep popping up in our lives, you know?
Those things that keep us feeling stuck.
Exactly, those situations where we feel torn between like two seemingly opposite needs or desires.
How do we actually like pinpoint those? What might those look like in real life?
Think about like a situation where you constantly feel pulled in two directions. Like at work, maybe you feel like you have to choose between being assertive to get your point across or being agreeable to avoid conflict.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely been there.
Right. Or maybe in your personal life, you struggle with like balancing the need for alone time with the desire to be present for loved ones.
Those are great examples.
And the exercise, it prompts us to really like pay attention to how that tension feels in our bodies and minds. Like, are we feeling anxious, drained, resentful? By acknowledging those internal conflicts, it's like we can start to understand how they're impacting us.
Like giving ourselves permission to say, hey, this is real and it's affecting me.
Exactly. And interestingly, research actually shows that leaders who can integrate seemingly opposite qualities like assertiveness and empathy, they actually achieve higher team performance.
Oh, wow.
And employees who have managers who can balance, decisiveness with collaboration, they report greater job satisfaction.
So it's not just about feeling better. It actually leads to better outcomes.
It does. It's a win-win.
I like that.
Okay, so once we've, identify a specific binary struggle that we're dealing with, what's the next step in this exercise?
Yeah, what do you do with that?
So step 2 is all about reframing the situation by asking integrative questions.
Integrative questions, okay.
Yeah, so instead of getting caught in that either thinking, we want to start asking questions that challenge those binaries and seek to integrate, both needs and perspectives.
So instead of feeling like we have to choose one or the other, we're looking for a way to honor both sides.
Exactly. Going back to that workplace example, instead of feeling like you have to choose between being assertive or kind,
right,
you might ask yourself, how can I communicate my needs and boundaries clearly while also being respectful and collaborative?
That's a good question.
Right. It totally shifts the perspective.
It does. It's not a limiting choice anymore. It's like an opportunity.
Yeah.
What are some other examples of integrative questions we could ask ourselves?
Another powerful one is, what would a solution look like that honors both my needs and the needs of others involved?
I like that.
It encourages us to think bigger,
Yeah, to see the bigger picture.
And to consider everyone's perspective.
This feels like it could really transform how we approach conflict resolution, both personally and professionally.
I think so too.
Instead of seeing it as a battle to be won, it's more about finding a solution that works for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And the exercise, it even suggests like looking to nature for inspiration.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, think about the union symbol. It beautifully illustrates how, seemingly opposing forces are actually interconnected and interdependent.
Right, it's all about balance.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of research that supports this idea of integrating opposites.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like dialectical behavior therapy or DBT, it uses techniques for synthesizing opposing forces to help people regulate their emotions and manage difficult situations. And studies show that patients who practice this both-hand thinking, they experience significant reductions in emotional distress compared to those who stay stuck in that either mindset.
So it's not just some woo-woo theory. It's actually backed by science.
It is, and even neuroscience supports this idea. Research shows that asking ourselves these integrative questions, it can actually shift our brain activity.
Wow.
Like it activates the prefrontal cortex, which is associated with, creativity and emotional regulation, while calming the amygdala, which is our fear center.
So we're literally like changing our brain chemistry.
Yeah, we're moving from a state of constriction and reactivity to a state of expansiveness and creativity.
Amazing.
It is.
Okay, so we've identified our binary struggle. We're starting to reframe it with these integrative questions. What's the final step in this process?
So the third and final step is about ritualizing integration.
Ritualize integration. Okay.
Yeah, essentially it's about finding ways to ground this abstract mental process in concrete embodied practices,
Okay, I like that. How do we actually ritualize integration? What does that look like?
Well, the exercise suggests this 3-part ritual design, starting with what they call symbolic anchors.
Symbolic anchors? I'm intrigued.
It's pretty simple, actually. You choose 2 objects that intuitively represent the 2 aspects of your binary struggle.
Okay.
So let's say your struggle is between needing to be strong and assertive at work, but also wanting to be like kind and compassionate.
Yeah.
You might choose like a stone to represent strength
Okay.
and a feather to represent gentleness.
I like that.
It's a tangible way to bring those qualities into your space.
Yeah, like a visual reminder.
Exactly. And then the second part of the ritual, it involves guided visualization.
Okay.
The exercise suggests like closing your eyes and imagining merging those two objects into a single integrated symbol.
So in our example, we might like envision the stone crofting and becoming more rounded, or the feather gaining strength and resilience from the stone.
Exactly. It's about finding a way to visualize those seemingly opposite energies intertwining and creating something new.
And balanced.
And balanced, yeah. And the key is to really feel those energies merging, The strength and the gentleness, the firmness and the flexibility.
Powerful stuff.
It is. And then the final step, it involves solidifying that integration with an affirmation.
So we're basically declaring this newfound balance.
Exactly. So in our example, you might say something like, I embrace both my strength and my gentleness. They are both essential parts of my wholeness.
That's beautiful. It's like a declaration of self-acceptance.
It is.
But is there any research to support this idea of ritualizing integration? It does sound a bit woo-woo to some people.
There is. There's a growing body of research on the power of rituals.
Really?
Yeah. Studies show that rituals can significantly reduce anxiety, by creating a sense of predictability and safety, especially during times of transition or uncertainty. And mindfulness practices, which are often incorporated into rituals.
Right.
They've been shown to rewire the brain's default mode network, fostering greater adaptability and helping us like break free from those rigid patterns.
So we're not just making this stuff up as we go along.
Not at all. And the beauty of this process is that, it can be adapted to fit our individual needs and preferences.
Okay.
The exercise even offers some great tips for incorporating these rituals into different areas of our lives.
Like what? What kind of tips?
For example, if you're working with this integration process in a professional setting, you might keep your chosen symbolic objects on your desk,
Oh, right, as a tactile reminder.
Yeah. Or if you're a parent, you could engage your children in drawing blended animals, like a lion with dove wings or a snake with butterfly antenna.
I love that.
It's about like normalizing the idea of integrating seemingly opposite qualities.
Right, from a young age.
Yeah, exactly. And the key takeaway here is that ritualizing integration, it helps us anchor this abstract concept of balancing opposites in concrete actions.
So it's about moving beyond just thinking about integration to actually feeling it and living it.
Exactly.
So this three-step exercise, it offers a powerful pathway to move beyond those limiting binaries that keep us feeling stuck and drained.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we move from this individual work to a larger societal shift? How do our personal efforts to embrace integration contribute to a collective evolution?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll explore in more depth in the final part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. All right, so we've talked about how to move beyond that binary thinking on a personal level.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture? How do all these individual efforts to integrate these opposing forces actually contribute to like a collective evolution for all of humanity?
Well, both sources suggest that this binary thinking, this US versus them mentality, it's really a holdover from our evolutionary past.
Interesting.
Yeah, it made sense back when, survival was the main concern.
Yeah, like back in the caveman days.
Exactly. But in today's world where everything's so interconnected, it's actually creating a lot of the problems that we're facing.
So you're saying like to evolve as a society, we need to evolve our thinking.
Exactly. We're facing all these complex global challenges like climate change, social injustice, political polarization.
Right.
And those things, they can't be solved with a simple either approach.
Right.
We need a more nuanced, collaborative way of thinking and acting.
So how does embracing integration on a personal level actually help us address these larger societal issues?
It creates a ripple effect, as individuals become more adept at integrating those seemingly opposite qualities within themselves. They become more adaptable, more compassionate, more able to see the interconnectedness of all things.
So it's not just about like personal growth, it's about fostering a greater sense of empathy and understanding in the world.
Exactly. And that lays the groundwork for collective evolution, you know?
Easy.
Imagine a world where leaders are skilled at balancing, you know, assertiveness with empathy, where businesses prioritize sustainability alongside profit.
Okay.
And where education systems value emotional intelligence as much as academic achievement.
That sounds pretty amazing. Are there any real world examples that suggest that we're actually moving in that direction?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're seeing the rise of conscious businesses that are committed to ethical and sustainable practices.
Right.
There's a growing movement towards regenerative agriculture, which focuses on working in harmony with nature rather than exploiting it.
Yeah.
And more emphasis is being placed on emotional intelligence and mindfulness in leadership training and education.
It's encouraging to see these positive trends emerging. It suggests that a more integrated and holistic approach is gaining traction.
It is.
But how can we as individuals actually contribute to this collective shift?
I think the key is to remember that every time we challenge a binary, every time we choose collaboration over competition, every time we prioritize well-being over productivity, we're casting a vote for a more integrated and balanced world.
So our individual choices and actions, they really do matter in the grand scheme of things.
They absolutely do. We're all interconnected, and our individual efforts to embrace integration, they create ripples that extend far beyond ourselves.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's like the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
Remember that binary thinking, it's a habit, and habits can be broken. The more we practice integrating those seemingly opposing forces within ourselves, the more we contribute to creating a world that reflects that wholeness and balance.
So it's a continuous journey of personal growth that ultimately contributes to a larger societal transformation.
Beautifully put.
Well, thank you to all our listeners. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into integrated energies. We hope it's inspired you to challenge those limiting binaries and embrace a more holistic, balanced way of being. And remember, every step you take towards integration creates a ripple that contributes to a more harmonious and interconnected world.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep expanding your consciousness.
And that brings us to the end of our first deep dive into The Dance of Energies by Felix Voxcor. We hope you found these insights thought-provoking and inspiring. Remember, this is just the beginning of our exploration. We invite you to delve deeper into the concepts we've discussed and to access the full article Beyond the Binary, Embracing the Dance of Energies, along with the transformative companion exercise, Transcend the Either or Mindset. Please subscribe to our paid tier. By subscribing, you'll not only gain access to exclusive content, but also support the continued creation of this podcast, allowing us to bring you more valuable insights and tools for personal growth and societal transformation. Please remember to follow and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes as we continue to explore the fascinating world of balanced energies and conscious evolution. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We look forward to connecting with you again soon.